Today's lesson is intense. I hope your noses are ready to work because we are about to learn techniques to describe complexity and intensity of aroma. Welcome to Day 8, Intensity and Complexity. I'm Annie Shapiro, Certified Sommelier, and DiVino is my wine consulting company back in New York City. DiVino Wine School is a way for me to share what I truly love about wine, which is really the storytelling and tradition that comes with it. All this information and vocabulary about color, consistency, and aroma, that is all simply part of the language. Before we get started, just a reminder, if you like these videos, take a second to subscribe to the channel. I also encourage you to enroll. Enrollment is completely free. The link is in the description, and when you do, you will find out in advance what we're drinking, what we're smelling, what we're talking about, and get a copy of the class notes. On that note, let's get rolling. You know how they say to know is to love? The more you know, the more you love. Well, I like to point out, the more you love someone, the more you want to know. And that also goes for things. So if you love wine, you will never stop learning. Let's jump right back in where we left off with aroma. What do we talk about when we talk about the nose? I promised you today would be intense. It will also be complex. I brought a Bordeaux. Let me know in the comments what you're drinking if you got something like this or something else. And because Bordeaux is a Cabernet Sauvignon-based blend, you will often find notes of bell peppers as well as fresh ground pepper. I brought a pepper mill here today. If you have never experienced the scent of fresh ground pepper, definitely try it out. But approach with caution because we don't need any sneezing fits in the middle of my lesson. Before getting into the specific scent notes of wine, like strawberry jam, lemon zest, rose petals, whatever it is, you start with a more general descriptive term, like floral, or fruity, or mineral, or vegetal, or herbaceous, or spicy. And then you go from there. For example, spice notes like cinnamon and nutmeg, or herbaceous notes of asparagus, bell peppers, or fruity notes like fresh strawberries and apricots. You might not be able to decipher a lot of different things because that takes so much practice, but you start with that general descriptive term, and the more you can identify, the more you list. And the more scent notes you can recognize in a wine, the more complex that wine is. For example, the Moscato d'Asti that I drank last week on day 7, which is an aromatic grape, has intense aromas of peaches and apricots and intense floral aromas of rose petals and freesia flowers. Just like color, aroma comes in a whole spectrum of intensity and complexity. Intensity is just like it sounds. Is the wine extremely aromatic? Does it hit you over the head with aroma, or is it more light and subtle? There is a whole spectrum of aromatic intensity, so like anything, practice makes perfect. A great way to practice evaluating aromatic intensity is to go out with a friend and one person orders Pinot Grigio, another person orders Sauvignon Blanc. Take turns smelling each other's glasses and notice how much more aromatic that Sauvignon Blanc is. Intensity depends on several factors. 1. The grape variety itself. If you have an aromatic grape like Moscato or Gewürztraminer, or a semi-aromatic grape like Sauvignon Blanc, the resulting wine will naturally be more intensely aromatic. Ripeness. Riper grapes are juicier, have healthier skins, and the skins are what store the flavor and the aroma molecules. Ripeness also depends on a lot of factors, like the climate. If a grape is grown on the sunny slopes of a mountain or in a seaside warm location, you are more likely to get a little bit more aromatic intensity from that grape. Techniques in the winery. Cooler temperatures during fermentation help to preserve aromas, especially in white wines. Oxidation and oak aging can both mellow out and contribute to aromas, so this can be a little bit tricky. That said, if you get really intense notes of wood, what we call oaky, this is a sign your wine was most likely barrel aged and probably in smaller oak barrels. Larger and older oak barrels do not impart so much of an oaky aroma. Side note, try to smell some wood this week. It's as easy as cracking 2 sticks in half. Go outside, pick a dead one off the ground, and then rip one off a tree. Sorry, tree. Then compare the two. You should also go take a stroll through the lumber aisle of your hardware store, or even just smell the wall at your local restaurant. This one smells a little bit like paint. Anyway, there's a big difference in a full spectrum of woody aromas. Younger wood has a spicy, sort of piquant, sappy note, whereas old and dead wood is much more subtle. I actually made a video on my channel about different kinds of wood and oak aging. You should check it out. I could talk about wood for hours. The age of a wine can also affect the intensity of its aromas. Grapes are plants, and wine is alive. Fresh fruit and vegetable notes tend to fade with time and transition into more jammy, mature, overripe fruit notes, especially in red wines. Earthy notes, literally, things like a damp forest floor, dirt, and leaves, these notes tend to emerge over time as wine begins to breathe and oxidize, or as we say, mature. We all return to the earth one day, and the best of us and the best of these guys do it with grace. This is a lot of information to take in. This series is 21 episodes long for a reason, so please don't hesitate to ask me any questions. The comments section is there for a reason. Compared to intensity, complexity is actually pretty simple. As I said before, complexity is the difference between having one general note, like fruity or floral, or identifying several of them. For example, a young Cabernet-based blend, like this Bordeaux, might have intense aromas of bell pepper and black currants in its youth, but after barrel aging and sitting in the cellar for a decade, those aromas will become less intense and more complex, with herbaceous notes like sage and mint or juniper even coming out. So the Bordeaux I brought is a 2016. It's still pretty young, and the aromas are quite intensely vegetal and fruity still. Going back to color, when you look at a red wine, if you've got that garnet color or it's a little transparent around the edges, that would indicate aging, and you should expect more complex aromas. In the case of this Bordeaux, the color is still a vibrant ruby red, so you should know to expect brighter, more intense fruity and vegetal notes. When I say you should expect more mature or complex notes, what does all this language mean for you? Once you figure out the style and characteristics of the wine you like and you know how to describe it, there is a whole world of wine out there for you to discover and to share with other people. Wine is really more of a culture than a food group. So going back to language, think of it as high school French versus study abroad in Paris. It is my goal with 21 Days to Wine to give you the confidence and the vocabulary so that you can go out into the world and join the conversation. And to keep that conversation going, please send me your comments and questions. And don't forget to subscribe and enroll. It's completely free to keep up with what we're drinking, what we're tasting, what we're talking about every day, and get a copy of class notes. See you next time on day 9 when we talk about sweet and dry wines. Cheers.